It's nearly 20 years since the 9/11 attacks. Thousands of people lost their lives, and for many Muslims around the world, there's been a rise in Islamophobia. So today, on Finding the Balance, I'm asking, is 9/11 to blame for today's rise in Islamophobia? Do you think that 9/11 is to blame for today's Islamophobia?
I think partly.
Why?
I think Islamophobia was around before 9/11, but I think it's just gotten a lot worse after 9/11.
In what way?
I think it's become a lot more apparent. I think during 9/11 there was a real big switch and people were allowed to be Islamophobic now. The motivations were a lot more forward. People sort of came together against Muslims during 9/11, and since then that's just sort of continued, even though now we have political correctness and we have this and that. I don't think much has changed since 9/11. But I do remember at university there was a girl who was studying English literature, and she was doing some studies on poems that featured Muslims pre-9/11, way before, hundreds of years ago, that were to some extent Islamophobic as well.
Does anyone else agree?
Oh, I think there's always been Islamophobia from the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His own family would be against him, and against that, the call to Tawhid, the call to God. The message has always been attacked. I mean, if you just look in history, it's not hidden. You'd get killed for being a Muslim. Never mind just after September the 11th, people come forward and saying, we don't want Muslims here. We've got armies that have been infiltrating or invading Muslim countries and literally taking them out, putting in their own dictators and trying to take the religion away. There's been an attack, like, for example, on the Arabic language. Do you get it? You've got Napoleon, who entered into Egypt, who tried to get rid of the Fusha, the Arabic language. Because once you get rid of that, you get rid of Quran, you get rid of Hadith, Usul, Tafsir, you get rid of it all. So hundreds of years, there's always been Islamophobia, and they're spending trillions on this.
So it wasn't 9/11?
No, it wasn't 9/11, no, of course.
Does anyone think that it was 9/11 that caused Islamophobia?
I think it was partly 9/11. I think 9/11 kind of triggered everything to happen. It was like a kind of a snowball effect. I think after that, like, loads of terrorist attacks started happening. It became even more widespread. I feel like 9/11 was kind of started the foundation of all of the Islamophobia that happened. I think it's more widespread and more apparent now that there's Islamophobia, but I feel like it's always existed. But 9/11 was a time where no one really knew about Islamophobia so deeply.
I think the term as well, Islamophobia, I've never heard that pre-9/11. Might have experienced it in different forms. For me personally, the experience of Islamophobia probably got mixed in with racism, as I would have known it, like through school and growing up. You always felt that undercurrent, but it was probably blended with Islamophobia. But I wouldn't have been able to pick it out as Islamophobia as well as I can.
Well, if you look at Hollywood, for example, pre those times there, every single Arab, almost, I think it was 95, there's a study on it, 95+% of Arabs featured in Hollywood films are dictated as bad, horrible, like, monstrous sort of people. So, and that's Islamophobic, because you're tarnishing a whole nation of people, a whole race of people, to be a certain way, and it's brainwashed people from way before September the 11th, all the way through.
But is that your opinion, like, in how they're being portrayed? What
That's
about
exactly
them?
how they're being portrayed,
Well, how are they being portrayed?
As criminals, as backwards, as sex pests, as all of them. You look at all the films, prior to it. Any Hollywood film that's got Arabs in it.
Every single film?
Find me one where there's a good Arab.
Was that just playing on the goodies and baddies kind of thing of whatever the political landscape at that time was? But the fact that you're Muslim, whether you're from a particular region of the world or not, just the whole inclusiveness around just if you're Muslim, it's bad. I feel like that's grown.
That's definitely grown.
I think overall people are scared of what they don't know, and the media can always portray they're then in the advantage. They can control that narrative. Pre-9/11, it always existed. I mean, the majority of us, born in the late 90s, early 90s, whatever it is, but we didn't necessarily experience it firsthand when you're, in my experience, like, when I'm 5. But 9/11 was definitely a catalyst in driving that movement in the modern world. Like what Sean said, it always existed before. It's just now how it's formed is completely different, and it made it okay. Now, for example, if you watch media and you see a terrorist, you immediately have in mind brown dude probably with a beard.
So is it worse now? Is it worse now?
Yeah,
There's associations. You know, it's given people a new reminder. If it was dying down before 9/11 happened, and that kind of drove it down as a catalyst, and I guess push the narrative over the edge now. Where
but
everyone
who's
has
pushing
it
the
in their
narrative? This is the thing. You're bringing the attention to one attack. Yeah, right. That was it. Muslims or not? That's still another debate. But the fact is, it's the media. So if anybody's controlling anything on how we conform to certain ideas or where our minds sway, it literally is it is mainstream media who is doing this. BBC, ITV, all of them. They're all the same. They pump out that same narrative. Do you know what I mean? You got US drone strike the other day on front page newspaper, and they end it off with how the US Army's hugging a little girl with a positive notion. Do you see what I'm saying? Drone strike kills 9 or something like that. I missed a US Army soldier hugging a little girl.
So when you say it's the media that are fueling Islamophobia,
100%.
what outlet are you talking about? Like, what are they doing?
All
Explain
of them.
it to me.
What are the media doing, for example?
Are we talking about newspapers? What are we talking about?
All mainstream media.
different
All mainstream media.
They're painting
It's called terrorist, but when it's
Exactly,
not a
lone
one
wolf
person, then
against...
the word terrorist isn't used. It's
No,
a terminology.
you know, I agree with you guys, but it's not even as direct sometimes. Sometimes it's
No, it
just,
doesn't need to be direct.
Like, if you watch Netflix, for example, the amount of times I have seen a hijabi sister who all of a sudden needs to get empowered by sleeping with the white guy and needs to drink. And it's like, what? Or anytime it's the Muslim guy being shown and he's either controlling or he is speaking to someone in ISIS.
Oppressive.
So it's not necessarily being like, oh, they are the terrorists, this is what they're doing. Sometimes it's as simple as just showing, oh, they're not happy being Muslim. You're not happy wearing that headscarf. You've got that beard, you are going to be doing something dodgy.
Does that feel Islamophobia then? Showing that you're not
gestures.
happy as a Muslim, that narrative?
Yeah, that is absolutely, that is Islamophobia. Like, there was a recent show and there was a new movie on Netflix and it immediately was going towards the narrative implying the Arab guys were the terrorists. I was going to shut the movie, but they switched it quickly around to show, oh, actually it wasn't them. But just that much infuriated me because it's like, you should just move on from this narrative at this point.
Yeah, but they're trying to resonate with people's ignorance. So
well, obviously,
this is out there.
I want to ask a question. So, does anybody remember, I don't know how old everyone is here, but does anybody remember life pre-9/11? Yeah. Did you feel like any Islamophobia then? Did you feel any prejudice against you?
No, but there's always wars going on in the Middle East, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you just think it's that certain people.
But what do you, personally, as individuals, did you ever experience Islamophobia?
No, I think that's where the spotlight shifted for me personally anyways. It was more my colour of my skin. So brown was the agenda then. Now the spotlight is on Muslim, right?
So then fast forward to like 9/11, it is a big deal then because I feel like everyone here said, yeah, actually after 9/11, whether it's a trigger or whether it was the cause, do you all agree that you've experienced
Some of these that
Islamophobia
were in their
since?
nappies at that age, though.
I'll give you an example. So not in primary school, but in secondary school, there was always this narrative and people thought it was okay to make the joke of Ali the terrorist or make a bomb joke. And I didn't know as a young one how to deal with that. I never liked it, but I made it okay because I didn't know how to handle that. And I'm sure a lot of other people have been in this situation as well, where someone makes that joke and you just laugh it off. And over time I realized I'm empowering them by letting them make that joke, and me joking back to be like, haha, don't make me blow up in front of you.
Yeah, you
Where
should have walked in
now,
with a
if
fake
anyone
vest.
dares make that kind of remark to me, I'll call them out. I'll be like, that's not right. Who do you think you are?
And that was when, how old are you, sorry?
So that was, so I'm 27.
Okay,
So, all the way up until, I don't think in primary school, people are innocent enough where, at least back then, they didn't make those remarks. But I remember going into secondary school and it was people day to day who I would get along with, but they would make those jokes. And, I know even my dad works at an airport, or he used to. He used to get those jokes as well. And he used to do a similar thing before where he would react back and, just laugh it off. And even he was like, I'm sick of them.
Did he get those before 9/11?
No.
I just want to say one thing because overall sometimes people fluctuate saying, yeah, actually after 9/11 it did get worse before it didn't. I just want to give you a stat, right? In the US, in the month after 9/11, hate crimes against Muslims jumped from 28 to 481. So do you think that would have been reflected in the UK as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
So are we agreeing or are we disagreeing that 9/11 caused Islamophobia? Just so I'm with you.
Not just
not cause.
not cause, not just 9/11.
Escalated it.
Yeah.
Cause that was directly involved, 100%.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about social media as being another catalyst. Am I understanding that right?
No, what I'm saying is that because we have information at the tip of our fingers in our mobile phones, it's easier to spread hate. It's easier to spread it now. Just like you can spread, like the playing fields are level, you can spread dawah. The same, the opposition, like those that hate Islam, they're spreading their message as well. So it's easier.
But I disagree that it's a level playing field.
I'm not saying it's level, but
somewhat.
I mean, just...
You know, I agree there's censorship of posts and whatnot, but
Why do you disagree?
There is censorship of posts. We all know it.
Yeah.
We know that, you know, algorithms are set to pick up certain words and certain posts and certain, like, take us in a certain direction. So, you know, social media is like giving someone a stage and then giving them a microphone and then putting 10,000 other people on the same stage with microphones and giving certain people microphones that plug into the speakers and other people microphones that don't work. So to have this concept that, yeah, we can go out and say what we want on social media and we have the right to, you know, spread the word and spread knowledge and this and that, social media is not that platform at the minute, and I don't see it going in that direction either.
There are certain benefits where you say even if the message can reach one new person and make them rethink the narrative, great, but we need to be aware of how social media itself functions. If we're all collectively speaking over here and, you know, we're going to have similar values, especially when it comes to Islam, we will see each other's posts. But as soon as someone comes in and they go, oh, actually, they're Islamophobic, all their content, the way it's going to be shown to them, they will literally be living beside us, but their content will be in a completely different tangent, and we will never see the same stuff online. So we can post as much as we want about, you know, being pro-Muslim, pro-Islam, religion of peace, but someone who doesn't believe that, their social media isn't even going to show it to them in the first place. So social media is helpful, but it's not the end-all, be-all solution.
Ali, you already shared that you've experienced Islamophobia from a young age, right? Has anybody else here experienced Islamophobia?
Yes, but not in the way that you would expect. So
What do you mean?
going back to 9/11, I was on a uni trip a few years ago and we were going around asking people about 9/11. We were asking them about Islamophobia, about different topics. And, you know, me being the white girl that I look like, people wouldn't expect that she's Muslim. So we went to actually quite a few people in the street and asked them about Islamophobia and about 9/11. And we kind of just asked them a question and just let them talk. And the number of people that said to me, I'm still scared to sit in a room with a woman that wears a headscarf because I don't know what she'll have in her bag, was astounding.
Damn shocking.
And this was 3-4 years ago.
Where's this, London or?
In New York.
Oh,
That's
in
what
New
scares
York?
me sometimes. I think maybe we are out of touch with
Exactly. So where are they
how
getting
bad
this
it is.
information from for them to be scared?
Yeah. Even, you know, in some of my old workplaces, they've not necessarily known that I'm Muslim and will go out after work as friends and, you know, they'll be
Want a
like,
drink?
oh, yeah, do you want a drink? Or, oh, do you want to go, oh, don't catch the bus from over there because that area is, you know, full of Muslims. And wow.
Well, they're not going to blow
And this is
themselves
in,
up, are they?
but this is in, like, Shepherd's Bush.
No way here.
It
Yeah.
does
Oh
exist
my
in
God.
England, and
It
there's this
really
narrative
does, and
England
we
isn't
don't
racist. The format of racism I saw was what, those jokes. I have sisters who wear a hijab, some don't, some do. She's directly gone into uni first day, introduced herself, and she's heard someone in the background make a comment, and you're a Muslim. Because she was wearing a headscarf. My wife, when she started wearing a headscarf in a pharmacy that she works in, one of the regular customers came in and all of a sudden didn't want to get served by her. So when I say I've experienced Islamophobia, it's what, like a joke. But then when someone's physically wearing a headscarf, family members that I know have seen it directly impact them. Alhamdulillah, I haven't actually seen it as badly, but when you compare it like that, it's shocking even in the UK.
Seema, Mariam, have you experienced anything like that?
Yeah,
you wear headscarves, so...
Where I used to work at, the woman came in and she was just speaking Indian. I didn't really know what she was saying. And she went to my manager and she started talking to him all about Islam and, you know, bashing, saying, I don't want to get served by that girl. You know, she's wearing a headscarf, this, that. I just thought, like, I'm offering you a service, you know, like, you've taken it to the extent, like, it's just, I feel like the media have just portrayed us to be such, like, evil, like such evil. I feel like they really control the narrative, especially like they used to do this with black people. They used to like be like, if he's wearing a hood, if he's, you know, like if he's got certain clothes on, he's this. So then they've now targeted a new type of like section of people. That's what they've done. I feel like that's what they've done. But yeah, I've experienced Islamophobia and it was really like horrible. I was like, oh my God.
And that was from an Indian lady.
Yeah, she was Indian,
Not
yeah.
white.
Yeah.
Mariam?
I personally haven't experienced anything, but in school, I remember in secondary school that, you know, there's always that like kind of group of, I would say like boys just being like childish. They would like ask me like, why do you wear that?
Yeah.
And when I was wearing the hijab then, I didn't fully understand the importance of it compared to now. So then I didn't really used to have an answer, and I just used to feel that they would belittle me because I'm wearing the hijab and because I'm a Muslim. Like I would always kind of have that.
Is that Islamophobia, or is that because they didn't understand that? How old were you?
So secondary school, I can't remember, like year 7 kind of ish. Yeah. But yeah, like I've not experienced anything like personally, but I've seen it happen.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not so direct. It's very like, people are doing it in a sneaky way, and just by their gestures, just by their attitude, you can tell like it's not always like in front of you.
Maybe I'm an optimist, but I just feel like even the worst cases can still be turned around, especially on a macro level, like human to human. That one person that hasn't spoken to a woman wearing a hijab and has some anxieties around it, you know, that one conversation with her might be able to turn around someone's, you know, point of view.
But sometimes, like older generations, they're not really as easy to get
stuck in
through.
their ways.
Yeah, they're kind of like they don't really easily understand some things. So it's kind of like that Indian woman that came. She was like quite old, so she wouldn't understand even if we spoke to her. So it's better to leave some things just unsaid. Like you don't want to, you know.
Yeah, just leave them to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. One thing that really surprises me in a good way is how much British Muslims are proud to be Muslim and like happy to be Muslim.
100%.
Because for me, I think, you know, if I grew up my whole life in the country where in the media it is constantly bad news about Muslims, and it is constantly, you know, we've got these movies like Rami, I don't know if you've seen it, where the guy that's Muslim has a better time when he's going away from his Muslim values and things like that. I don't know if, you know, if I'd grown up in that environment, how easy it would be to still be proud that I'm Muslim and still be happy with it. But mashallah, like every Muslim that I've met in the UK is really proud to be Muslim and still has this sense of community about them, has this sense of, yeah, I've got to show who I am and I've got to, you know, make people realise that it's not like that.
I think 9/11 did that, didn't it? Help people subscribe to that identity because they're like, it's almost like you've got to pick sides at one
Flip
point.
side, when you're talking about stats, there was a surge in people taking Shahada after 9/11 as well. So, you know,
more awareness of Islam.
Yeah, exactly. It made people look into it. So,
So, what do you think the future holds then? Do you think it's going to get worse? It's going to escalate Islamophobia, or what do you think?
I think so, because I think the thing that's aggravating it more and more, you know, from the historical context that Sean mentioned with the wars and stuff, I think now our values are on a divergence from Western values potentially, or non-Muslim values, can I say? So I think that divergence is making the contrast even more turned up.
Yeah, and also what's happening around the world has a like direct impact on how we are in the West.
Yeah.
So like Afghanistan, and you know, you don't know how what's going to go on there in the future. You don't know how that's going to have a direct impact on us. So I feel like I think it's going to become a bit worse.
100%.
Sorry, carry on. I was going to say, I think because it's becoming more and more like the world, like obviously the issues that are happening, like Palestine, Afghanistan, it's all signs of the world ending.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
So, you know, like it's
took it deep.
So kind of we know that, you know, Muslims are going to get treated like this. And because it's happening more and more, it's like, well, is the dunya ending now? So then we kind of have that thought, like I expect it to increase.
I think it's refreshing that people around the world are standing up for justice. Maybe it's just something that, you know, I've experienced and I feel like I've been a part of, so it plays a bigger weight on my mind. But, you know, recently with the things that were happening in Palestine, we saw huge protests and we haven't seen that in many years.
And social media helped to broadcast that all across the world. You know, I know of Palestinians who were in Palestine, in the West Bank, and they saw video footage that they never would have seen otherwise.
No, they wouldn't see on mainstream like media and stuff.
But for the first time, the narrative was changing to what it should have been years ago.
It was all over the mainstream media as well, though. But I just want to ask then, so no one thinks that Islamophobia is getting better?
No.
No.
What do you mean better?
Getting better. Islamophobia is reducing. Wrong words. You don't think Islamophobia is going to be reducing anytime soon?
Not in the next 100 years.
Sorry, on your note about like more people standing up, I think more people are standing up because it's increasing.
Yeah, because it's getting worse.
So we realise as a duty, as a Muslim ummah, that we need to stand up. So, like, personally, like, kind of what you said about British Muslims are proud to be representing Islam in this country, and that's personally what I think as well. And yeah, I think more people are going to stand up, and they should, right? Because I mean, it's increasing, so naturally you would want to. And
I think one of the best things as a solution you can do is as well is lead by example.
Exactly.
One of the things that it makes me sad to see sometimes is when you might see something anti-Islam online, but then all of a sudden you've got the Muslims going in to be like just swearing at people instead, and being like, "Don't you dare cuss my religion of peace! I will burn your house down." And then and it's like you are contradicting yourself.
Exactly, we add to their representation.
Exactly, you know, we've got examples of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ where, you know, the woman, the old woman who would always, every time he would walk by, she would either throw something at him. I don't correctly know it, but the one time she didn't, he checked up on her. Like, that's leading by example, and obviously we're human, but we're contradicting ourselves by being like, "Don't you dare cuss my religion! I will burn your house! I will kill you!" And it's like, wait, what?
Internet can be a bit crazy in the comment section.
Yeah, just a bit.
That is very extreme. But I was just going to ask then, so what do you think can end Islamophobia? Where do you think this is going? Where do you think this can end it?
It's not going to end. You've got to accept it. It's not going to end. Actually, it's going to get worse, as predictions from our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ again says. Will come a time that we don't even know our religion. We just know the Shahada. Everything in our deen is gone. We're already like, do you know what I mean? Islamic identity is already going out the window. Do you know what I mean? It's literally like, who? Do you know what I mean? Like, who's really holding up? And I'm speaking for myself, but who's really holding up Islamic core values in their whole life? Do you know what I mean? Everybody's a sin. Everybody's like conforming to another group. Do you see what I mean? There's all these kind of pressures, and it's been predicted in our religion.
I think we can tackle it on a more grassroots level as well as a kind of more global level. You know, just even simple things like offering your neighbour food. You know, it can drastically change the perception. You know, people's opinions are based on their interactions. So if someone's interacted with a Muslim, they have a Muslim neighbour that they know, rather than a Muslim neighbour that keeps their door closed and never even says hello, you know, being able to have that interaction humanly, I think that can go a long way.
So how comes it hasn't, well, if that can go a long way, how comes it hasn't worked yet?
Because I feel like sometimes, I think it is
We're
working
not doing it enough.
on certain levels.
Our foreign policies, the way the media can portray us.
Yeah, carry on. No, carry on.
Just what I mean, everything is like, Muslims have been doing this for hundreds and hundreds of years.
There's two layers.
Dawah, be good to your neighbour, do you know what I mean? Inviting for dinner, all of these things, we've been doing this.
But there's different layers, right? There's the political landscape and, you know,
but that's where we need to go to, the political landscape.
But there's, you know, your
not
child,
from the bottom up, from the top down.
There's your child being bullied at school because he's Muslim, you know, and those kind of things can change on a macro level. You know,
I think a lot of, going back to what you just said about school, just mentioned that.
Yeah.
There's no, who talks about Islamophobia in school?
No one.
We need more education on this. Children, because when you, going back to what you said about when you were in school, you didn't know how to deal with it. It's because we don't get taught it.
So do you go to the teachers or do you go to the ones at the top to enforce that to all the teachers?
Yeah, also when you talk about Islamophobia in schools, you know, it's just highlighting, oh, these people are different to you guys. You can't say this, you can't say that.
What do you mean?
You know, when I feel like sometimes when we talk about Islamophobia to people, it comes across in a way that's like, makes people think, oh, I shouldn't say that out loud, but I'll keep it inside me and think it inside my head.
So that might be the first time they heard that word. Now you planted a seed that they then explore and they could fall either side of.
You know, we don't have lessons on like other religions and racism against other religions, but you know, also, it's a slippery slope. How do you make someone feel like, oh, they're the same as us, but they just have a different belief system?
I think that's the problem when you want everybody to be the same, because we're not all individuals and we've all got different religions. We're not the same.
Also, I feel like we could talk about this topic forever.
Oh, yeah, we could.
Thank you so much for sharing your opinions on those topics. And yeah, I'm looking forward to your reflections.
I still don't think 9/11 was the cause of today's Islamophobia, but I do think that it made it a lot worse. Now I'm asking myself the question though, how do we reverse it? How can we fix that as Muslims?
I'm sticking by my guns. Islamophobia has always been around and it will always be around. And there's no cutting corners with it.
On reflection, I think 9/11 is to blame for today's Islamophobia. I think Islamophobia has existed for many, many years and decades before us, but I think the Islamophobia that we know today is very much fueled by 9/11.
Yeah, I still agree with it, but I think now the focus should be, what can we do to what's the solution, and as Muslims, what we should be focusing on as well. And there's both micro and macro things that we can do. For the everyday person, it's just leading by example and showcasing the best version of Muslims and Islam that we can to those that are around us.